In this lesson, I'm going to show you the Shading Effects Editor, and we're going to look at the Bevel and Profiling tools. These tools have a significant influence on the effect and how it looks. So to do that, let's type in some text and apply a preset to that, and then we can look at the Shading Effects Editor. So if I just type in a character like this E here, I'll apply a preset to this. So to do that, we come over to the Special Effects and Shading flyout, we click on that, and we'll see this presets here. We click on that, and we'll select, say, a gloss plastic preset. That gives us a good idea of a profile. So we'll accept that, and you'll see it's applied to this letter E here. Now, to bring up the Shading Effects Editor, I can do that in several ways. I can come up to the Effects menu, click on Shading Tools, I can come down to the flyout, click on Shading Tools, or I can click on this tool here and expand that out, and we've got all these extra tools here. And we've got the shading tools here. I can also click on it from up here, and as always in VinylMaster, in the second row of tools, we see tools relevant to what we're currently working on. So I'll click on Shading Tools, and our Shading Tools comes up, and here we've got our Bevel and Profile. Now, the Shading Effects Editor, we can just put it up here out of the way. We can roll it up if we don't want to see it at the moment, or we can push it back down, and we can see all our tools here. Now, whatever I do in the Shading Effects Editor, I'll see live on the effect that I'm working with. So it's all in real time. Now, looking at this Bevel and Profile tab, on this side here we've got the Profile Adjustment, where we can set some standard profile shapes as follows. We have over here the Profile Curve, which we can adjust with the mouse as well. We have an inner radius, an outer radius, a profile height, and the bevel color. Now I'll explain all of these as we go along. The first thing we want to do is have a look at what we've got here. When we're in this mode, in the Shading Effects mode, we get these two nodes, and I can move those nodes about to get various effects. That node gives me an outline, and as you can see, the outer radius here is increasing. This is the color that this particular outline is set to. So if I click on this, it brings up my select color, and I might change that to, say, yellow, and as you can see, it has quite an effect on the look of this particular job. So those tools there are on-screen controllers, or as gizmos as we call them. Right now we'll set this to 0, and you can see that all these tools can be set numerically. I can type in 0 and press enter. 0 is a percentage, and we have our inner radius and our outer radius. The inner radius is the actual roundness of the bevel, so to speak, as you can see here. So this is how you do prismatic. You have a high inner radius and you get the prismatic effect. And if I go to my shading and lighting here, depending on where I set my lighting, for example like that, you can see the shadow quite starkly here underneath these arms of this letter E here. Okay, so we'll go back to rounded, and I want to show you how this bevel effect actually dramatically influences the look of this shape. So I've got the profile height, so the lower I make this, you can see that as I go lower, the height of this profile is dramatically affected, which is the way it particularly looks. Now the other thing I can do here is I can actually come in here with my mouse on this Edit Profile Curve, and I can actually edit this, and you can see that this changes here, the preview changes, and so does the actual object, or the project I'm working on. So whatever I do here greatly influences this preview and the actual object. So I can sort of look at what I should be seeing here and here. Now, we've provided you with a lot of presets, and the reason for this is because there are so many ways and so many combinations and permutations of all these tools here that to make it easy for you to learn how to use them to begin with, we go in the presets, and if I go here to Edge and say click on Edge 01, you can see this effect here. If I click Accept, you can see what's happening here. Now this looks very different to what we just had a moment ago, but it's exactly the same tools. I can do all of that with these tools, and that's the point. By showing you, having all these presets, we're in a position to show you how you can create all these effects by using these nodes here and setting different amounts and setting this whole thing up. So if I go back to this preset here, let's look at this one that we had a moment ago. So we've got sort of like a lip or an edge around this, as you can see, and that's just done by moving these nodes, and if I adjust these nodes, you can see how it changes that particular shape. So using this tool here, you can dramatically influence how this shape looks. If I click on one of these presets here, like that one, it's totally different, a completely different look. If I move that up, you'll see what's here matches here. And I can move this down here. Oh, sorry, this one moves across. And then you can get like a negative effect. And you can also make the profile height negative, which has it totally changes the way this looks. So bring that back up. And by changing the inner radius, we can change how deep that bevel appears. So we can actually make that lip look like it's on the inside of this letter. And of course, we can always add things like an outer radius, which again changes the look and the appearance of our effect. Let's just go back to a generic type look here for a moment. This is like a prismatic effect at the moment. And we'll go back to a preset and we'll look at another type of preset, this one here. And here we've got this Scallops type look where it looks like it's been routed out. And that's by positioning these nodes like this, as follows. So, to create a different profile effect, we have the inner radius, which shows us how far in the radius goes, where the bevel, how deep the bevel goes. This sets how high the bevel is. The lower, the less sort of shading effects you see, or the less shadow. The higher, the more shadow. As you can see, the shadow's increasing. This tool down here gives us some outline, and the bevel color lets us set what color we want to make that outline, as so. So we can dramatically influence the way a shape looks or an effect looks by using these tools. And by combining the inner radius with the profile height, you can create starkly different looking effects. And of course you can then combine these with the gloss value. If I bring the gloss right down, of course it looks quite different now. If I change the surface brightness, again, it looks very, very different to what it did a moment ago. So all of these tools working in combination with each other allows you to set an infinite, literally an infinite range of effects. And that's why we've done some of these presets, so that you've got something to work with and you can instantly apply some of these presets and you can see the sorts of settings we've set, because all we've done is we've done this in the program ourselves. None of this is contrived. All of this is made in VinylMaster live. So everything you're seeing here has been done in the program. There's no tricks or special effects that we're doing here. We're just using all the tricks and special effects of the program itself to make it very easy for you to come along and create any number of effects yourself. Now I can move this out the way and select on it, and it being text, I can actually change its color. And again, color makes a huge influence. You've also got things like gradient fills. If I give that a gradient fill, again, it looks totally different. I give that a bit more surface brightness and a bit more gloss value, and I increase the highlight strength, and I'm starting to see all these effects and special highlights all over the object. And I can change the shape and make the profile positive, and then I get that effect. So I suggest that you have a look at the bevel and profile and get the mouse out and, you know, practice with these and experiment with these shapes that you can create and see all the different things you can make. And as I say, what you see in this preview here is applied to the object, and we'll just set that to 0. You can also have negative. That's the other thing with this. You can make things negative, which gives you, gives you a completely different look, as so. So experiment with these tools and you will be able to create an amazing range of effects. Make sure you look at the shading and lighting lesson, and also the reflections and bumps, because that again completely influences and changes the look of the effect. And then you can start looking at applying textures. You start applying textures to these things and you get quite a totally different thing all over again. And that's the end of this lesson.